Insurance, the Benton Rusty, and Chano's Village, along with H&R Block, reminding you it's tax season, everybody. This morning's edition, it's Monday, so tomorrow night is your city council meeting for Laramie, Wyoming. And with us this morning in Studio 255 at the Laramie Plains Civic Center, Brett Glass. Good morning.
Good morning, and great to be here. Bright and sunny Monday morning. It's not going to be so sunny tomorrow morning. And I'm here with your city council update. Basically, the purpose of this program is to talk to you about what's going to happen on city council meeting on Tuesday, so you can be informed, so that you can comment to your city council members, so that you can get involved. And I have here the agenda for the city council meeting. It starts off as usual with the Pledge of Allegiance, the call to order, and the public comment. You can come there and speak for 3 minutes on any topic that you'd like that's not on their agenda. And then they're going to have a couple of proclamations. The first one is a proclamation for March Disability Awareness Month. And so they're going to proclaim that is going on. And there's also a presentation. They don't give a lot of detail about this, but Wyoming Community Gas is going to provide a presentation. I suspect what they're going to do, since they donate to local organizations, they're going to give a presentation where they take credit for giving money to organizations in town, like the Soup Kitchen, the Downtown Clinic, and also Interfaith Good Samaritan. After that, there are going to be a series of public hearings on things which have mostly been discussed already. Some items that come before council have to get 3 readings and a public hearing by state law. And so there's going to be a public hearing on the changes to the rules for the Aquifer Protection Zone. Those changes are minor, and as far as I can tell, most people agree with them, so that there may not even be anyone speaking at the hearing, but if anyone does want to comment, that's the time to do it. Then there is a long consent agenda. And the consent agenda is items that are approved in a group without really being discussed. There's a bunch of them. Most of them are things like payments to contractors that the city owes, and cemetery deeds when they allocate plots in the city cemetery. Also, the use of liquor licenses for events that aren't in the usual place where the organization with the license serves liquor. There's a couple of items which are on third reading and not really being discussed anymore. A couple of changes to the UDC, the Uniform Development Code, which are mostly grammatical changes. There are a few other changes. There's changes to the municipal code related to nuisance abatement, and again, these are pretty much not going to be changed. Their city council has discussed it all these items all they want to, and so they're just approving them on third reading. It's kind of just pro forma. Then there's the scheduling of a meeting, April 22nd, 2025 at 6 p.m., an overview of the Laramie housing plan, which they've been discussing for a long time. The city is sort of trying to direct the development of housing, even though that's largely done by the private sector. And I'm going to be talking about what they're going to do policy-wise to try to do that. So the consent agenda will probably be approved with no changes, and then we're on to the regular agenda. Most of the items on the regular agenda are routine things like contracts, but there are a couple of items there that stand out that are worth looking at. One of them is an agreement between the City of Laramie and a consulting company called Mead and Hunt for a 10-year strategic public transportation plan. They're going to be talking about what happens in terms of having public transportation in Laramie that maybe isn't provided by the university, or maybe is provided in cooperation with the university and or with the senior center. Right now, we don't have very much going on to serve the west side or West Laramie, and they're going to talk about changing that. Now, the city hires a lot of consultants. As a matter of fact, a lot of people say that they hire too many consultants to discuss things that, where the outcome or the goals are fairly obvious. But in this case, it actually pays for the city to hire the consultants, because they've gotten a grant from YDOT for more than $100,000, and the city, as part of administering this grant, actually gets to keep some of the money. It gets to keep about $9,000-$10,000 worth of the money. So oddly, even though they're spending the money on consultants, it was already allocated to be spent that way, and the city actually gets a little money back from this. So those of us who are concerned with government waste, if we don't like hiring the consultants, we need to talk to WYDOT about this, not the city, because the city is actually getting something out of this deal. But there won't be much discussion of public transportation when they discuss this item. It'll just be discussing awarding the contract. Another item which is very interesting is an annexation of some property that you've probably looked at if you've driven around Laramie. The hilltop, which had W on it, up at the north end of town, for years and years has not been part of the city of Laramie. Most people don't realize this. It was not zoned. It was actually not incorporated into the city. And this is because a rich owner who was associated with the university and was also a large landlord in the city refused to have it annexed for many years. And so it was sort of it was sort of an inholding within the city that was not considered to be part of the city. Now, this is good for a landowner who isn't doing anything new with the land because, it reduces your taxes. The city doesn't get as much in taxes from you, and you pay less. But apparently the property has been sold. It now belongs to a company which develops land, which is called Wilco out of South Dakota, and they want to increase the value of the property and make it easier to develop in smaller lots by having it annexed to the city. And so those 16 acres, it's kind of hard to believe that there's 16 acres in the middle of the city that was not part of it. This ordinance that they're considering, ordinance number 2100, would annex that property at last into the city. So we no longer have a donut hole in the middle of the city. After they do that, there's an ordinance immediately following, number 2101, which zones that land, because when it's incorporated into the city, it has to be zoned. And they're talking about zoning that as R1, single family residential, which is almost the most restrictive way you can zone it in terms of development. It's really meant for single family houses. There's another one called low density residential, but that's one of the least dense zones.
Isn't it true we no longer have single family housing in Laramie Code?
Yep, and that's an interesting contradiction. They're putting here that R1 stands for single family residential, but as of a couple of years ago, the city council actually eliminated single-family zoning altogether. They said that you could have an accessory dwelling unit on your property, which is a whole other house. And so even though they're zoning it as R1, it is possible for there to be more than one family living there, and that's a good point. It is, however, fairly restrictive in terms of setbacks and other things. So it is the least dense, or almost the least dense, of the possible zonings available. And then, after they've considered what to do with the hilltop property, there's another very interesting item, which is ordinance number 2102, amending the Laramie Municipal Code to permit modifications to non-conforming billboards, which is a mouthful. But what it essentially does, right now we have a very strict sign code in the city. Many people believe that it's too strict, which restricts the kinds of signs you can have on your business and restricts billboards to only certain areas of town, restricts their size, puts all sorts of constraints on what you can do with signage. Now, there's a large signage company that owns most of the billboards in Laramie called Lamar, and they have requested to change the sign code. They want to be able to put up animated computer-controlled billboards that change the message. And right now, the sign code doesn't allow that. So they're asking the city to change this, change the ordinance so that they're now allowed to put up these big, new, fancy light-emitting diode signs. Now, these are, if you've seen these, and you've probably seen them a lot in urban areas, or if you've driven along I-25, you've probably seen them facing the highway. They're not unsightly. You get a chance to feature ads from more companies or more advertisers. And they're really, they really are not a problem. And so it's probably not a big deal to let them do that. We probably should have allowed that from the get-go. But the Planning and Zoning Commission wasn't as enthusiastic about this. And when it went to them, they actually recommended that the city council deny this request to change the sign code.
On what basis was that denial recommendation?
They didn't really say much. I guess they didn't think they thought that it might be distracting. They thought that it might be ugly. So this is one where the public should really, I think, weigh in on
Think about
what its
it
opinion
and weigh in.
is.
Yeah. I've seen two such designed billboards, the closest in proximity to Laramie and Cheyenne, one on Del Range, the other on northbound Central Avenue as you go over the viaduct over the Union Pacific Railroad way.
Yeah, and they're bright and they're pretty, and yes, they are a wee bit distracting. But if you're going to read the billboard, you may be distracted a little bit anyway. These could be as big and bright as the ones you see farther south on I-25, for instance. So
size was allowed that large, okay?
Yeah,
or requested that large.
Yeah, and so when you drive down I-25, when you get past Fort Collins, when you get to Loveland, and the big shopping center there, the Centera shopping center, there are a number of these there. This is the kind of thing that they're requesting to put up. And again, this is something where the public didn't really show up at the Planning Commission meeting. This is really the first time it's being presented to the public. It gets 3 readings, so the public has a chance to chime in. And well, if you have an opinion on whether these should be allowed, if you have an opinion on how big they should be allowed to be, this is the time to chime in. So go to the meeting if you're interested in this and comment.
Very good. Thank you.
And those are pretty much all of the things that are on the City Council agenda for this week. Again, there's some interesting stuff. There may not be a lot to comment about. The development, again, the annexation is probably long overdue. The sign code stuff, again, that's going to be a matter of opinion. I'm sure there's going to be debate on that. And the other stuff is pretty much routine. But that's what's going on this week. The meeting will end, as usual, with another public comment period, so that if you thought about anything during the meeting that you want to comment on at the end, you can. And that's it for the City Council agenda for Tuesday, March 4th.
It is important, if you attend the City Council meeting, that last item for public comment, you better raise your hand fast. Because it's at a point in the meeting where there's not a lot of delay, and you want to be recognized. They'll give you that opportunity, but you better raise your hand quickly.
Yes, if you're on Zoom, especially, make sure that you've clicked that little raise hand button long enough in advance for the city clerk to see it.
Right, and March 3rd, Monday tonight, your West Side Historic District will meet at 6 p.m. at the Lincoln Community Center. This meeting is scheduled for an hour and 15 minutes, and it's regarding the public comment period from the Albany County Historic Preservation Board. They sent out a notice February 13th regarding a draft proposal that they have for National Register nomination. And this is a meeting where they will talk about the public comments perhaps received or yet to be made through the end of the month. And that specific date, Thursday, March 27th, 5 p.m. deadline for comments, public comments submitted to the specified email. And you want to mark your comments, West Side nomination, public comment, and you can make those in a texted email or type notes, either one. And we look forward to that meeting tonight. We'll be on hand to cover that this evening at the Lincoln Community Center, 6 p.m. Again, it's going to be a fast, efficient 1 hour, 15 minutes. We'll see how that goes. That message and others brought to you again by H&R Block, reminding you it's tax season.
be performing a silly song about taxes.